Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, if it is morning for some of you. Um, we are here again. This is September the 2nd, and we were reminded on the panel that it is full moon. So happy full moon day for September. I'm joined today by our regular panel, Eileen, who's going to help us with the questions and her wisdom, and Travis, Kelly, our Qigong teacher, April. I'm not even going to go into your resume, April, and Louise, our author. So let's get started. Do we have any questions from last week, Eileen? Do you remember, or you want me to
We
just?
did have two questions, but I need to pull that post up. I'll do that in a moment.
No. Don't worry about it. We can just start fresh. So one of the things that happened with the School of Awakening last year, Eckhart's teachings also provided us with his talks in Greece, right? So maybe 2018, October, November timeframe, he had talks in Greece. They had recorded it, so they were given for free to the students of School of Awakening. And if I remember it correctly, he did it even during School of Awakening. He talked about this concept of yin and yang. It's also on his website. Yin being the feminine principle, yang being the masculine principle, right? Like Eckhart says, the Star of David, the triangle that is downward, is the feminine principle, and the upward is the masculine principle. And what he says is in life, and this is what the panel is going to talk about, is balancing the yin and yang. You know, we may think that, okay, we are spiritual, so, okay, being spiritual, I'm going to be very yin, right? Which Eckhart says he is very yin. He has this joke about, I can go to the female bathroom because I can go tell every lady that I have more yin than you do, right? So I want y'all to talk about this masculine, feminine balance. And I'd start off with Kelly because you are a Qigong teacher and yin and yang is actually a Japanese principle. So go ahead, Kelly.
Thanks, Poonam. Actually, it's a Chinese principle.
It is? Okay,
Yep,
thank
Chinese. The concept of yin and yang comes from the idea that there are polar opposites that, basically laws of thermodynamics. For every action, there's a reaction. The concept of yin and yang in the I Ching, the Book of Divinations in Chinese culture, is basically represented by a straight line or in a broken line. Before yin and yang, you have the concept of taiji, which is the expression of emptiness, or wuji. And a lot of people get caught up in the mental analysis and the separation of the concepts of male and female. And we're very familiar with the yin yang symbol, where you have sort of like the teardrop shape with the white dot in the black and the black dot in the white. That's a very modern symbol. The older versions of the yin yang symbol actually have much more of a mixture. There's no dots, and you actually have sort of like a kaleidoscope of black and white sections moving around each other in a circle, in a spiral, which actually is more representative and less black and white, because you actually have the imagery representing how yin and yang are actually a part of each other and within each other. And my understanding from all the Qigong that I've done, especially the medical Qigong, And all the martial arts, especially the Bagua. The Bagua is a very balanced, pure Taoist art. It's a water art that is about balancing yin and yang, or the male and female energies in the body, which is the strength of structure with the yang of external expression of structure, with the internal relaxation, or the yin, the softness of your power being expressed through your structure. In Qigong, in the martial art of Bagua, Tai Chi, even in Xingyi, which is very yang, very, very fierce martial art, you still have yin. You have the softness and the relaxation into your body that is required in order to actually understand power. And this is how I look at the concept of yin and yang. They're not separate, and they should never be viewed as separate, because the I Ching, the Book of Changes, talks about the intertwining of these energies and how that is how the universe actually expresses itself. The mind likes to label, catalog, itemize everything into understandable information, which is normal. Yin and yang is about balance. It's about, and they're concepts that are important to understand in order to appreciate the path of balance and the work towards being balanced in terms of mind and body. Very simple understanding of the concepts of yin and yang. Yang is sort of like tension or brute force, and yin is a very soft, neutralizing, accepting force that Tai Chi is very well known for. For a person to exhibit a great deal of yin, if they're male or female, it's usually very easy to observe. They're very soft-spoken. They're very patient. They're very supportive and considerate. These are sort of like nurturing qualities of yin. Yang aspects are sort of very aggressive, to the point of being forceful, to very high intensity, emotional, mental energies, and physical energies. However, my personal experience has demonstrated to me what the Book of Changes, the I Ching, actually talks about. And when you go back from the concept of yin and yang and how everything is separate into the 8 trigrams, which the energies of Bagua are all based on, and can be sort of associated with and aligned with when you go through the palm changes and the movements in the art, my real understanding of actual physical expression of the physical energies and the physical embodiment of these concepts, the yin and yang of these energies, is that they are not separate and that they are very intertwined. When you are opening or twisting or moving the hand, you can feel the engagement of your structure, which is the yang energies, but you also want to be relaxed as you move your hand and not be tense, so that you have a solid, relaxed structure. And again, martial art, point of reference. In meditation, yin and yang are expressed in what people commonly understand as Kundalini. And with Kundalini, the misconception is that a Kundalini movement is very fiery or very, very energetic. And this happens when there is a lot of resistance in a person's nervous system, and the energy has to literally explode through their system to burn through blocks. When you have relaxed the body enough, a Kundalini movement is so quiet as to be almost imperceptible, and is so soft and gentle and still as to be virtually invisible, except you can feel the movement like being carried on a raft in an ocean current. And for me, that's been a very, very physical experience. And again, yin and yang are really, really good points of reference to understand, because These are the polarities. It's like the dualistic nature of the mind, desire and despair, or where we get caught in the aggressive pursuance or the aggressive pursuit of knowledge versus as a yang expression of a path versus actually sort of sitting in our own stillness, in our body, letting everything balance, which is a yin approach or a Taoist approach. And I'll stop there because I could I could keep going.
Thank you for that, Kelly. So it is more like it exists whether you are in the physical form, you're male, or your physical form, female. Both yin and yang exist within you, and
Yes.
it is up to you to know how to balance it.
Yes.
And that's why it's like a mixture of the black and the dark, the ellipse almost,
Yes.
right, with the white dot, and the other black with the actually the white with the
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. The same thing with the Star of David. That's a yin yang symbol.
Yeah, and that's an ancient symbol demonstrating the male and female energies. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm hoping people understand that they have that energy, both the yin and the yang, and it's about balance. Anything come up for you, Louise, when you heard, and you've done School of Awakening? I don't know if you remember this portion that he had touched upon.
Yeah. Yes, I do remember. I remember him saying also that the important thing is to keep, to have balance in our lives. Like, it's not good to overdo anything, even if we think that it's good, that everything should be in balance. And there was something that he had said, but I just kind of lost it now. But I just remember him talking a lot about, how we, how it's good to not overdo anything, to keep things in balance.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for reiterating that point. I remember him saying it's like this, like if one is yin and the other one is yang, at the apex of that is presence. So you use your presence power to balance what you're saying, Louise, right? Without the presence, without awareness, you can overdo one or the other. And once you overdo, it's going to cause law of polarity, what Kelly was saying, right? The other polarity
Exactly.
will get created. So thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
that. Anything come up for you, April?
For me, this concept, I think, played out in my life through, I had a very dominating father. And actually, my mother was very forceful as well. So I was taught that you handle things head on, right? And with force, and you exert what you need or what you want. So it's like a fighting. So to me, that is the yang. So I lived many years in my life with this. I was softer than my family, but this idea that I needed to fight and I needed to be strong and I needed to be forceful and insert my beliefs, all of that. So as I awakened, that softened. So that was the yin coming in. I realized that I didn't need to be that way. Not only that, but I think in this world, that's kind of how it plays out in normal everyday life. The yin, the yang, the more masculine, that's kind of how our world has, to me, is formed and has been formed. And I'm seeing a shift, and we are moving towards a more balance, that we're not fully there yet. But I know for me in my life, 100% I was yang. It was all power. And when I decided to become awake, getting that yin that brings peace. It really truly brings peace. You don't have to have so much force. Things aren't so important. You don't have to do so much in your life. So that's kind of how that is. So that's the balance thing that, and I also think too that there's that old saying of, you know, too much of a good thing is not, it's not a good thing, right? You can have a little piece of cake, but you can't have the whole cake. So I just think this plays out in every area of life that where you can apply it.
Thank you for sharing a real world example of it, April. What I feel is even like it's not the West or the East. I see this in India as well. Women, because they've entered the workforce now, right, for the past 40 years, have taken on a lot of the yang energy and they need to pull back because they are in the female. Hi, Zoe. They're in the female form. They need to kind of like embrace that feminine principle, right? Because there's a lot of, I feel they end up destroying a lot by not embracing the female principle. Just look at our political leaders, like look at Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. How much yang is there in her persona, right? If she would just have embraced her female principle, she would have won, right? So that's the she created the other polarity where there was too much yang and people didn't like it, right? To win people over, you have to have that balance. So that is a very real world example of where you balance the female with the male. So thank you for that, April. And I would strongly recommend that if you're female and if you're male, it's the same thing. You have to balance the yin and the yang, right? Eileen, anything come up for you?
Zoe says hi.
Hi, Zoe.
No, I've never really talked about this before. So I'm kind of taking it all in. It's making me think a couple of things, but I'm not going to share at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Eileen. Travis.
There we go.
Anything come up for you?
Yeah, I feel like I should show my tattoo here. It's kind of part of a, you can kind of see, but it's a 6-pointed star there. It just has a line going around
great.
there. I can, well, so everybody, in order to be here, right, we all have a mother, we all have a father. So we're half female is what made us, and half male is what made us. And so I think that oftentimes as human beings, we look at our anatomy, which is the kind of the most gross kind of aspect of who we are. It's the least subtle. And then we let that inform our ideas about who we are. So we just go, I'm a man or I'm a woman. And then your sense of self becomes identified with can be identified with your gender, which is one of either end of the pole typically, or it can be expressed in that way, not necessarily. But to me, I feel like in reality we have both in us, and it's a dance and a play, because it's going to express itself. It's almost like there's a love relationship that's going on inside of each of us, and it's as unique as any love relationship could be, between. And so it's a beautiful thing, just and you can see it everywhere in nature too, in the way that you have the the empty space of the night sky and the stars that hang in the sky, you know, or you have you know, the active day and the quiet stillness of night. So there's a poetry to it. There's a real poetry to the balance of the masculine and feminine. And I know for me in my life, I've always been way more with the yin. Always very passive growing up. Never pushed to do any of these things that are a little more of that masculine energy. You know, to achieve and accomplish goals, or be active in sports, or do any of these. I never did anything like that. I feel like I've actually been having to learn to nurture and bring about the more active, the doing, the masculine, to balance out, because I've always loved that softness and passiveness of that yin energy, but I also have a purpose to fulfill in this life, and there's action required to fulfill that purpose. And so I'm still very much learning to find that balance. You know, I'll find myself assert that more masculine energy of doing and stuff, but maybe I'll just go too hard with it. And then I lose balance, and I have to get back up and recalibrate. It's like I'm learning to ride a bike, and I'm kind of getting it, and I feel it sometimes, and I go, oh, there it is. And but then I still kind of wobble and fall here and there. So I feel like I'm still very much learning, and maybe I'll always be learning to become more and more refined in that balance of those energies. But I think that we, you know, that's who we are. We both have both of it in us, and there's such a beauty and poetry to it.
Thank you, Travis. Thank you for that. I nodded my head and I said no, because Eileen will know that I don't use phrases like I'm. Then you manifest that. If you say I am wanting to be yang, right? And I'm going to be, I don't even know, I'm going to keep working at it. Like Eckhart says, believe as though you've received it. Believe that you have the presence power to balance it in this moment. You already know it. You have the knowing already. So speak it as though you have it. I would say that to everyone. Because then you manifest the, oh, I need something in the future, projecting in the future.
Right. You know, I think unconsciously, I may have been saying it like that in some attempt to be humble, or, you know, and I'm thinking, well, I don't really know, and I'm always learning. I think it's what that was an attempt to kind of humble myself before life and say, I don't really know everything. I don't really know how everything works. And it's, you know, so yeah. So
beautiful.
Yeah.
It'll work itself out. The present moment will determine how it is. But for now, I'm ready. I have enough presence power to balance the two. One of the things, maybe this is what Louise was saying, it was very, very beautiful that Eckhart said this. The creative principle is also yang. You know, I always thought the creative principle is very yinny, right? Because it's creativity. So you're painting, and Louise may have gone through it being an author. Like when you want to be an author, or Travis, you want to be a speaker, right? April as well. So that's why I brought up this topic, is there is a force that you have to go after, right? Okay, I'm editing the book and I need the book cover, and now I need to find the publisher. I need to print, how many copies I need to print. There's a very yangy principle, but it's all creative energy, right? Because you are bringing something that is inside you out, right? So always remember that the yang energy is not always a downside because it has masculinity to it. It also has an upside because it is participating in that balance of the creative principle. Because once we want to create, allow consciousness to create through us, then that has to come out, right? Like it has to be a force out, and then use our awareness to balance it. Let's see, there's questions, so let's go
I'm
to
just
the
going to
first
add
one.
something real quick because Lakshmi said it, and it is
Go ahead.
exactly what you were just talking about. She said the thought of creating something is yin, but doing is the yang.
Yang, yes. Because I remember Eckhart brought this example of he had to take his Power of Now books and like in bags, in plastic bags, and drop it off at bookstores. So I cannot imagine the very yinny Eckhart sitting in his chair, actually going out, getting the print copies and dropping them off. So beautiful. So Mike asks, when we are meditating, what sort of protection do you recommend from the universe against bad entities on the astral plane? April, this is the perfect question for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
I don't believe in bad entities because I believe that there's one source and that we all come from the one source. Now, the thing is, though, is that if you believe there's bad entities, you can, in a sense, there is bad entities. Does that make any sense? I don't personally believe in them. It's not that there isn't kind of negative energies. There is, because again, it's the balance, the yin and the yang. I really wouldn't worry about that though when you're meditating. The focus of meditation is to heal, is to bring something positive forth. It's not to be in a worrisome state of, oh, is something else going to come in? So I would focus more on your intent. And I wonder if they feel, if the questioner feels like they have had negative entities come in. I have had clients say that to me, but if you do, the protection is, because I had an experience with my youngest daughter that we were talking about earlier. When she was younger, she thought that there was this black spirit coming out of the corner of her wall when she was younger. We couldn't turn lights off. So the protection for that is I always bring in Jesus and Archangel Michael, and I ask them to wrap them in the white light and take them back to the other side where they belong. Because on this plane, you are in charge. You are the boss on this plane. This is not their plane. This is your plane, your dimension of living. So if I do feel there is something, or maybe after I do a reading, I feel like there's a person kind of following me, I ask Archangel Michael and Jesus to take them to the other side. So that was the protection. The person, you can also put that in your intent in the beginning of your meditation that only good will come to you. They could also do that. So those are the things I would do.
Thank you for those tips, April. I couldn't say anything more. I do think that people, is it like cultural to believe in demons and dark spirits? Is there certain families that have a belief that they?
Yes, but I also think that it is our religions that has taught that there's the devil, there's demons, there's the mark of the beast, you know, yeah.
So that belief may be playing out because it always is what is, you're manifesting what you're thinking and believing. So if you have a belief, what do you call it, past condition pattern from your religion that demons exist and dark spirits exist, then we start to believe it. And then of course, we'll manifest something of that nature, some paranormal activity of that nature.
Exactly. I had a a guy do a reading on me once who is a psychic medium, very excellent, good psychic medium, but he also believed in the paranormal. And he started to tell me that, he said, do you have a lot of frogs in your yard? And he said that that was the sign of the devil. Well, if I started to believe that, then I would get freaked out. But I don't personally believe that the devil comes through frogs. So it is very much what you believe and what you allow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would correct that belief. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Louise, anything come up for you?
No, not really. I think April pretty much said it perfectly. I don't think that I feel that I don't believe that any evil spirits or anything can come through when you're meditating. I do believe that that's what keeps you grounded and whole. So I don't feel that that's even a possibility. So that's probably what I would add.
One of the things that Eckhart, I remember him saying is, Jesus is proclaimed to have dispelled evil spirits, right? Because like when Jesus looks at is this is the written story. We really don't know because we weren't born 2,000 years ago, right? That he looked at a person, and instead of looking at the surface of that person, he looked into their essence, and in that way, evil spirits were released. And what Eckhart says is those evil spirits were actually the pain body. So
I agree.
Mike may be talking about the evil spirit of the pain body releasing, because as you pay attention into your body during meditation, the evil spirit is your pain body. So let it, give it spaciousness, give it additional spaciousness, right, Louise? You've done that with your
Yeah,
pain,
perfect.
physical pain as well. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the tip. Travis, anything come up for you as to evil spirits on the astral plane? Thank you.
So what I want to say, like there are words that came to me while we've been discussing all of this, and this is not something that I usually I have discussed in conversation. I have a lot of myself, but I'll share it in this. I'll share what came up for me is that I am. What came to me is come to me. I am love. I am the place where all things pass through me, and to welcome and invite all the same, and to not look at one, to not offer a different love to one than to another, but to offer the same love and to welcome all the same. And that I my attention is drawn to my heart, and that is the place, that is the grand and central station that all of these, that every thread of life, every train passes through. And so I that's what it feels like. I am that. I am that place. And come here, come to me, come be with me. It's okay. That's what I say to any evil spirits that may be, because there is no one who is any less deserving of love than another. And what we call evil spirits, maybe it's pain, and that is usually maybe even a greater need for, they need that love is needed even more. So, and I think that's that transformative power that transmutes pain into consciousness, to kind of borrow the words of Eckhart Tolle. I think that's what comes up for me. So yeah.
Perfect, Travis.
Thank you.
I think Eckhart, even in his recent video about the pandemic and everything, he says our greatest immunity is our presence power. Nothing more. Nothing more is needed, right? Thank you, Travis. Kelly, you want to say something?
Sure. This is a whole specific topic. Where to start? First of all, for Mike specifically, Travis, you're starting to get there. One of the things that I do when I meditate, and April, sort of along the same lines of what you mentioned in terms of protection, is when I meditate, is I set the intention first that I am love and that I am light, and I see myself surrounded by light. And if I feel myself distracted by my mind, my monkey mind, or external pressures, astral pressures, I focus back on the simple repetition, like a mantra, that I am love, usually 3 times in sequence. And that is one of the many things that I do. Mike, you've also got my messenger, so if you want to send me a message afterwards, we can talk about this in more detail. I have a divergent perspective. My time spent being a channel and medium and teaching Reiki, and with my Qigong training, one of the things that we become sensitive to is the E, or the power of the intention. And one of the things that we learn doing Qigong, after a long enough time, you have to build up the sensitivity to these subtleties, is the denser aspects of energy that people carry with them. And this is sort of one of the things that actually sort of fascinates me about what Eckhart Tolle actually talks about in terms of the pain body, because that is something that I can visually see on people, in people. And that's, put on what you were talking about in terms of Eckhart's interpretation of how Jesus healed people, or of demons or entities, is by looking into their energy. And if you have a strong enough E, you can, or presence power, if you will, you can hold space strong enough to literally wash out dense energy in other people without having to say anything. This is this is sort of a truth that is present in all the ancient traditions, all the ancient healing traditions, and something that I've studied in shamanistic traditions, either North American First Nation or South American First Nation, European, ancient European traditions, and the Asian arts that I've trained in. Well, not as medical Qigong, or just some of the Bodhisattva meditations. It's the whole point of refining our discipline so that we can just be present so strongly that we embody that healing aspect, or that light, or that space, if you will, of pure love, of that clarity. I could talk about the difference in astral energies. One of the things that I have studied a lot of are the archangels and the hierarchies of light. Years ago, Archangel Michael is a favorite. I even got a little medallion from Mont Saint Michel in France. That is sort of like a whole cathedral devoted to Archangel Michael. And sort of interesting, again, it's like from practice of being present and feeling myself present and connected to my body and connected to the earth, there is a great deal of strength and clarity and energy that a person can bring into themselves, of understanding that they are safe no matter what, and to not be hijacked by the dense energies or pressures from the external world. And this sort of, again, comes back to just being physically present, being strongly present in the body, mentally, emotionally, physically aligned with the heart, connected with that space of stillness and grace that we all have within us.
I couldn't add anything more, Kelly. Thank you. I'm not a proponent or a very knowledgeable person of the astral plane, so I couldn't give Mike any
It's
more.
not something that is very, very well known or is really common knowledge unless you really go looking for it. But it's there in a lot of ancient traditions too.
It's a good thing Eckhart doesn't go into so many concepts, right? Then they become concepts. Unless you raise yourself to that energy level where you can actually transcend all the different parallel universes that may exist. So thank you. Eileen, anything come up for you?
No, it did not. But I would like to talk to the little one about this because I'm pretty sure it has for her. But thank you.
Protecting herself against the evil energies. And it is full moon, so the evil energies are in full effect, right, April? So supposedly what Eckhart says is if it is full moon, then if people had a mental, some kind of psychological disorder, then it's in full effect. And that's why the presence power helps, the meditation helps, because then you're kind of, the moon is putting pressure on us, right? We're getting aligned to it, and you use your presence power. So let's move to the next question. It's from Vincent. I was not expecting this kind of chat in Eckhart Tolle. What a pleasant surprise. Great insight on Bhagwa and Kundalini. Thanks. More about Kundalini, please. Travis, since you just went through a meditation, did you want to start on the Kundalini experience?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, most of my interpretations are based upon my own experience. I'm not extremely knowledgeable, but I have had a lot of very, very powerful experiences in this lifetime, and so I mean, just to on a very basic level, there's energy there's that and there's the polarities, and that energy moves between those polarities, and it does move up through the body, and so I know for me, it's always been through a kind of a surrender, and all things passive. So it would be, you could call it a listening. I'm listening closely, right? I'm watching attentively, even to smell. Go get so all those things that are on that more receptive end. It's usually when I'm in that place of deep listening or deep attentiveness that these openings start to happen. And I know when I was around 17, initially it was induced through use of psychedelics, but then I realized very quickly that I could get into these states of being without any use of intoxicants. And so just through focusing on my breathing out, there would be these immense openings in my body, and my hands would become tingly and cheeks would become tingly, and it would eventually sometimes take over my whole body. I just feel electric and luminous. And that to me felt very much like this Kundalini awakening. And that there was just a whole, and some of it was more than I had a time in my late teens where I thought I might go crazy, because as that energy traveled through me, and what felt like past lives or something opened up in me, it was it felt like it might be more than I could handle mentally. And there was so much activity. So I think, I mean, I'm really knowledge around some of this stuff than I do. But but then over the years, even a couple of years ago, I had something something happen where I was sitting like I have done virtually every day for years, and I felt something at my pelvic floor, that it was it just felt like this wave, and it feels so good. And sometimes I'd, even after meditating, I'd be talking to someone and I'd feel like go and flush through my body. And so these are my experiences, that I share, because they seem like some kind of Kundalini awakening and opening, and that energy that is normally dormant or coiled up at our base somehow comes fluttering through or rushing through, and it affects you physically. When that energy is released, it feels good. It affects you emotionally. You feel love and boundless love. It affects you mentally. You feel mental clarity. Um, but it also can, I think, jar things loose in us that might be really hard to deal with too. So that's about all that's about as best as I've got with all of that. I hope that is useful in some way. Yeah.
Great description of the physical experience of what Kundalini energy could be. Thank you, Travis, for sharing that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have a similar experience. Like, the energy is so much that sometimes I cannot sleep. Like, I'm trying to sleep at 9 o'clock at night, and now it's 11, and I could still feel the energy through my body. So I've learned to like balance my diet now, like not eat too many greens. That it also raises the energy. Like, it depends on your diet as well. I had in one of the videos I had talked about high pranic foods. In Ayurveda, this concept of high pranic foods. They are foods that have life force. So when we start to eat them, then our energy rises automatically. Um, Black pepper is one. There's certain things. Ginger could be one. So there's certain fruits and vegetables that have that. Always, it's fruits and vegetables. Seeds, not seeds. Thank you, Travis, for that. April, did you want to talk about the Kundalini?
Uh,
About the Kundalini.
Kundalini is something that I'm still learning about. I can sense energy. I can open the chakras. I can do awesome meditations. I can get into a wonderful state of presence where my family says to me that I have like these butterfly wings, like, Mom, everything's not a fairy tale. But and I had this conversation with my daughter, and I said, I think all of the masters, including Jesus, I think they did Kundalini meditation. I think that's what they did. And so I don't really know if I've had one if I haven't, what does it really feel like? And I think I had something happen to me the other day, but I actually was physically ill the next day. So then there's also, so I don't know, maybe Kelly can, there's this theory that you can't do it on your own and that you have to have some master do it. So I really I don't have a clue in this area, apparently. So.
But the same experience as Travis, right? That you can feel the energy in your body, right? You couldn't be doing be a psychic medium if you were not in touch with that
Yeah, I can feel the
energy.
energy in my body. I can also feel the days where in my stomach, my solar plexus area, I can feel a pull down. So I can very much feel it. I can also feel when I'm centered and when I'm, high vibration. Is that Kundalini? I don't know. So.
I'm not a yoga, I have not taken yogas to really understand the concept
Yeah.
of what Kundalini is. So, Eileen, did you want to say something about this? Thank you, April. I appreciate it.
No, this is something that I've too have wondered about, but I'm not familiar. So I would say probably the same thing as April. So no, learning lots tonight.
It's something like, the chakras, there are 7 chakras that they are junction points in the body, and the lowest is the Muladhara. So we are raising, it's like Kundalini is a serpent, right? In our spine, it's like a serpent, and you're raising your vibrational energy from the Muladhara to the 7th one, whatever it is called. I'm not into, like I said, I'm not into yoga. I know some, just being East Indian, I kind of know some of the concepts, but and that's why if you all notice when we do group meditation, I've been wanting to say this, like when the guidance comes, she says, uh, imagine a red cardinal and then a bowl of orange fruit. She's taking us through the chakras. The lowest is red, right? The color is always shown as red. And then the next one is orange. The third one is yellow. Then comes green, right? Blue, and then violet, indigo, white. White is the highest. So always, know when she's directing us during meditation through the colors, then she's trying to raise our vibrational frequency, move to the next chakra, raise your vibrational frequency up. Now see red, now see orange, now see green. Green is the heart, right? If you can see green, it's like beautiful. And especially when we have our eyes closed and can see green, then that means our heart is vibrating at that level. Luis, did you want to say something? I know Kelly is going to put a cap on it, so I want Kelly to go last. So,
I've had that experience. I did yoga for 20 years, and so I feel that that's what activates it, and it is an energy. And I do believe, because I haven't done it now in about 10 years, but I do believe that it's a clearing energy that you experience when you're doing the yoga. And it's very freeing, but it is what I had experienced is a lot of energy, like a lot came out. So the same thing, like trying to sleep. So a lot of times I found myself shying away from doing it because I felt I was already one of these people that had I was hyper and had a lot of anxiety at that time in my life. So that just made it more intense. So that's been my experience.
thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for that tip. because remember I said I'm doing a course with Dr. Eben Alexander and Karen Noel, and Dr. Eben Alexander had a near-death experience. So he was saying that the brain, a lot of scientists believe that the brain creates consciousness, and he was saying that the brain filters, it acts as a filter, like a cap. It subdues consciousness. So your experience, you saying I want it subdued, I feel if the whole consciousness was flowing through us, we would just destroy ourselves, right? If it was
Exactly.
raised to that extent, it would get destroyed. So the brain kind of like dumbs it down, like let me dumb, like it uses emotions and thoughts, the electromagnetic frequency of emotions and thoughts to actually bring it down so that we can actually handle the energy that we have. The power is in this presence, right?
Mhm.
So
Can I
the
say
power is
something
in,
before Kelly starts?
go ahead, because he's going
Um,
to speak and not stop.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that.
I'm just teasing.
So we talked at our group meditation last week. Well, other people talked. I had left, but about something that I've dealt with and not realized was I don't have a mind's eye, so I can't see when my eyes are closed. I don't see anything. I can't visualize none of that stuff. But I thought it was interesting because I had a cranial sacral appointment this week. And while I was there at my appointment, it was probably about 3/4 of the way through my appointment. Um, Eyes are closed, of course. Suddenly I saw like a green, like rectangle, look like a photograph. And I was like, what the heck? My eyes are, because I've never had that in my life. 43 years I've never seen with my eyes closed. So I was like, what the heck is that? And I tried to like look at it, and the more I tried to look at see what the picture was of, like it just disappeared. But I thought it was, you brought up the colors, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was green. It looked like grass, but I couldn't figure out what it was a picture of.
That
Um,
shows your heart is opening.
yeah, but I thought that was interesting because I was like, oh my god, I've never seen that in my life. And then it was like a week later, right there in front of me. Hasn't happened since, but
So when she says see a red cardinal, you cannot actually see the red cardinal.
no, I don't see anything.
Do you
I
remember?
can think of the words red, and I can think of the word cardinal, but I can't see anything.
Oh my God. Ah, sweetness. But that's a blessing in itself. Eileen, I call it
We
grace,
talked about that.
because
Yeah.
how many people are in that movie making, right? Like drowning in their past movie making.
Mine, it's words. There's always words. There's always like words. It's not audio because I can't hear, but I just think of words in single. So like it's like these single words that just pop into my thinking. It's more thinking. It's always thinking, 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 not doing. Or but it's a little maddening, but I can imagine that it would be probably even more maddening with the pictures going along with the words.
Okay, Kelly, take it away. It's yours. Thank you.
I have a lot of experience with yoga, meditation, disciplines, and martial arts, varying methods for activating Kundalini. I always used to think that and believe that the fiery explosion of energy in my body was Kundalini until I actually retrained my nervous system with the standing state Qigong and the Bagua. The Bagua Gong Fu that I have trained in the last 20 years is a pure Taoist art, in that it balances the yin and yang in the body through the engagement of the deep tissues, the tendons, and regulating blood flow. And this is the main thing that Qigong does, is it regulates the body to balance everything out so that you develop a baseline of awareness of the body so that you can feel your alignment with your heart. once I'd gotten sort of to the, for me, it was a 10-year mark with Bagua, specifically the circle walking meditation, which is a profoundly unique discipline, and actually triggers the creation of natural DMT in the body, which is an ethnogen, natural, like it's like creatine. The body creates creatine to help the tissues repair, L-glutamine from minerals and stuff like that. Had a lot of experiences growing up of rushes of energy in my body, of profoundly, what I come to understand now as profoundly spiritual experiences. And my understanding is that there are Kundalini experiences where you have that release in the body, and it feels like, body heats up. I had experiences where sweating and couldn't sleep for days afterwards, or I was sick, depending on what kind of emotional threshold accompanied the experience. And then once I had started putting some serious time into my standing state qigong and my Bagua circle walking, I noticed that the experiences began to become quieter and more subtle. And the last couple experiences that I've had, the experience was so it's like finding yourself completely submerged in the ocean, and everything is pitch black, but you can feel everything with your body moving. And it's quiet, and it's very, 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 very still. And the last few times that this has happened, it's almost like you have two sides of a sphere sort of lining up, and like a jigsaw puzzle that just quietly mesh together, and then sort of there's this bright white light, but it was quiet, like in movies where you have, like in action movies where you have this super big explosion, but it's so loud it's like quiet. And that was the experience. That's what the visual felt like. So from my experience of doing Bagua and the standing state qigong, learning how to quiet my mind, I have come to the understanding and the belief that Kundalini is, when you are, like, there are the two differences. When you are working at aligning your body and balancing out the chakras, that the Kundalini will sort of hit blocks or misalignments or tension in the body and sort of explode in heat and a lot of energy throughout the entire nervous system. And again, my progression through these types of experiences have indicated and well demonstrated to me that as you progress into deeper and deeper alignment with your heart and calmer spaces inside, more stillness inside, and alignment with the body and the heart, that the movement of the energy becomes quieter as well, because there's less blocks for the energy to hit, because everything's more balanced inside. There's less friction in your nervous system for it to generate heat or to feel like huge rush of explosion, like you've taken way too much niacin or niacinamide or L-arginine, and you suddenly have this, or like had like 4 cups of coffee and too much sugar kind of thing. That's actually the perfect analogy. It's just like when it's a difference between like having too much coffee and sugar versus having a nice sort of calm, quiet sort of sip of like the perfect jasmine tea or something with like, that floral bouquet and stuff like that. And you're like sitting in front of a perfect sunrise or sunset or whatever in front of the ocean. It's like feeling that depth of space versus sort of like the sudden, like the heat and all the energy. and again, this goes specifically straight to why I teach Qigong, why I teach the Bagua that I do, and why I teach the meditations the way that I do, because of my progressive experiences from the heat and the rush of energy into quieter and quieter states inside my physical experience with Kundalini movement. And this is one of the things that Bagua especially, this is for Vincent, Bagua especially has a very specific and just absolutely beautiful method of rewiring the nervous system to feel the yin and yang balanced, so that when the mind tries to become, or the monkey mind or fears or programming try to hijack you and get you unbalanced, you have such a concrete physical point of reference for the balanced integration of yin and yang and alignment of the body and the heart and everything like that, that you do not get hijacked anymore after a while. So you become even more still inside. The expression of energy inside the body is something that fascinates me to no end. It's one of those things that I've discovered in my Qigong practice, and especially with the Bagua, is that the refinement of awareness, the refinement of feeling and being aware of those spaces of Kundalini moving are limitless. I have, after decades of training and learning from people and my own personal experiences, it's like literally being dropped into the ocean and just above the whatever trench that is that just goes down for like 8,000 feet. You can feel that depth. It's a palpable thing, and there's no end to being able to feel that depth. I've found, which is really hard for the ego at first. It was just made me want to run away when I first began to feel that depth, and especially the stillness. And this is sort of one of the things that I feel, because there's a lot of because with the chakras, this whole chakra system of raising the vibration, there's also not just the ascension of energy up the spinal column or up through to the crown chakra, but as with the triangles of the Star of David, that whole concept of the unification of the energies inside the body also has to be understood, where it's not just the rising or the raising of the vibration, but the anchoring and the settling down into the body, and the connection with your physical reality is also required to understand and to be able to feel as a physical reality, so that you can balance them both, so that when energy does move in your body, it is a perfectly natural flow and there is no resistance. I could go on. I could just get the popcorn, get my drink, and just keep going, because
I think that's good, Kelly. That and what I would say is, Vincent, do you still have your free classes?
yes, there's still, yeah. I was gonna post today that I still have like 10 slots, 10 free classes for people. So
if anybody wants to avail that opportunity to use the free classes to take Bagua or Qigong, so the whole what Kelly is saying is accurate. That okay, you have that fireworks kind of like a lot of energy, but what I'm sure Travis, April, Louise, Kelly, Eileen by now experiences, there's this anchoring inside like the inside of the body feels anchored throughout the rest of the day, right? It's not like before it was out there. Now, because of the meditation, it feels like we are inside our body, right? Even when you are speaking, I can feel the inside of my body like anchored, right? So Qigong is a really good way to learn it. That's when I first Kim Ing's Qigong, Chifo Yoga, Louise, that we got through the School of Awakening, is how I experience the inner body that anchoring of the body. And that's what it helps with. And that's what is going to stop the thoughts, is the inner anchor. So thank you for that, Kelly. I'm going to wrap it up because it is an hour or more, but I do want to ask, so not that I am going to recommend doing any psychedelics or recommend, and I'm very like I have not even ever had alcohol, right, in my life. So I have not, I kind of, even as a child, somehow I knew that my mother was very compulsive. She had a tobacco habit. She had a lot of compulsions. Travis, whenever you say your story, I kind of remember my family as well. So I kind of like stayed away. Like I made a conscious decision as a child that I wouldn't drink, I won't do tobacco. I won't smoke. I won't do the chewing tobacco, which is very common in India, right? So, not that I would recommend psychedelics, but if you're at that age, then so you have to have enough inner power to say, I'm going to dabble in it, but I am not going to make it a habit, right, Travis? Because that is the first experience. Like if you want to experience what it feels like all of us experience the presence power, that would be, psychedelics would help you, right?
I think they could, I think it's one of those things that's we're all so different and so nuanced in not just in our psyche and our conditioning, but our soul and what we've brought into this life. So I think it's such a, but it, I think there's kind of a general growing acceptance and curiosity and understanding that that some of these substances could be used as tools, but I mean I can say from my life's experience that and the culture I grew up in and just my own personal experience that there is a tremendous likelihood to
Addiction.
use them you use them in ways that are irresponsible and possibly destructive and things that are create a lot of difficulty. So
Is there a Native American drink? I keep forgetting the name of it. Uh,
ayahuasca.
that's not a drink, right? That's actually,
Drink.
it is a drink?
Yep.
Ayahuasca.
There's
Okay.
also peyote.
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 That's what I was, that is what, I feel that that's how Native Americans generated that presence power, right? Like they could at least see the other dimensions because of indulging in these. But if you want to experience it, but then pull back. Don't make it a habit. Or if you think you're going to make it a habit, don't do it. But that exposes you to the dimensions. Thank you, Travis, for bringing that up, because what we do in our group meditation is brain entrainment, binaural beats, right? So what Dr. Ibn Alexander was saying is we recreate the same experience that what a psychedelic would do using the brain entrainment, right? Just through sound, which is the little bowl, Tibetan bowl is the same way. So you can use something as you're gonna. Did you want to say something?
For me. I'm just.
Did
The
you want to say
the Native American, it's because I've done a lot of, I haven't done this, but it's a vision quest, and then they have the Sundance. The vision quest, you go off into the woods for several days, and those substances are taken. That is, and then they have the Sundance, which also sometimes those things are included. So.
But they help with.
Also,
Go ahead, Louise. Sorry.
uh,
I'll come
I
back
was
to you, April.
Okay.
just gonna say, oh, I was just gonna say, if any of you guys watched Ryan, his real talk that he
Okay,
has
real
every
talk with
week.
real people.
Yeah, he had someone on there from Canada last week that she talked about psychedelics and how, and also like how to, like, if you wanted to experience it, the best way would be to do like how she did it, which is like with someone kind of walking you through it and being with you. And it was a very interesting talk. So I would recommend it if you guys are a part of his group to watch it. She was very knowledgeable and talked a lot about all her different experiences. I believe she might have been Native. I can't remember.
So, I mean, I brought it up because it just seemed coincidental that Dr. Eben Alexander, this module 3 was about other realms of consciousness, and he brought up psychedelics, but then he said, yeah, you can look at the graphs and this is what the experience is, but you can also use it through the sound meditation, right? April, please finish what you were saying. I'm really sorry. I moved to Louise.
No, no, I'm just aware of what they are called because I have done Indian sweat lodges, I've done drum circles, and I know that they have the Vision Quest, that's what they do. And then they have Sundance. I personally never did it because I kind of had the same fear as you when it came to those kinds of substances that I don't know how that's going to end up. So I always kind of shied away from those, you know.
I am very, very blessed that I came through the binaural beats. Like whenever he, I think in 2012 or 2013, he, Dr. Eben Alexander was featured on Super Soul Sunday. And then he talked about sacred acoustics and the binaural beats. And I'm blessed that puts me into another level of heaven that I have no, but the fact that he says that, or I may do that, like Travis watching me at maybe when I'm 70 years old, I'll like do it under his guidance. Okay, I'll take a little, see what that experience is, right? But have that guide, right? Have that accountable person that can actually watch you and say you're doing too much of it, or you don't do anymore, right? One day is enough. Kelly, you want to say something about it? Psychedelics?
Sure. My experiences with LSD have probably always been as the chaperone. I've never actually done it myself. I've done a few other things, ayahuasca being one of them. And again, this is one of the reasons, again, further reinforcement of why I teach what I teach is because the same energy in ayahuasca, in plant information, is exactly what I experienced doing standing stake or doing bagua circle walking. And this goes to how the body can naturally, like with binaural beats, produce those states on its own with its own energy. And it was one of the best things I ever did for myself is understanding I'm doing the research before I ever did my ceremonies with ayahuasca, is understanding the amino acids and the interaction in the brain and what actually gets triggered and released in the brain from the plant information. Again, very different than sort of a pharmaceutical like just straight DMT and LSD. And also, I've been a chaperone many, many times. I lived in a building for many years where there's about 15, 20 of us that would go out all the time. And even in university, I ended up like the designated driver. So I've had a lot of observation as experiential education of those spaces, as well as doing years of First Nation ceremony, sweats, and going to Sundance, not participating, but being an observer and being able to feel the energy in that space, and literally how, you know, one of the most fascinating things about being at Sundance was how the energy of the location and then the energy of the ceremony itself were like different layers or different energetic bubbles, each within each other, like a different atmosphere. And actually being, you know, being able to feel that and sort of going, oh wow, like people together, like energetically, when the intention is focused and everyone is present and focused on one thing, such as a ceremony, it's really amazing. So the potential for the human body, and this is, you know, one of the things I've read a lot about, is about how once you actually do something like LSD or DMT or ayahuasca or peyote or even pot, once you actually do it once, it's in your system. Your nervous system has it. Your energy system has the information. So it's sort of, you know, something that a person can do literally as research once and be able to go back to the experience and feel that experience and feel that information.
If you have the control, follow Kelly's advice, do it once, right? Or what Louise says, have somebody accountable,
Yep.
like walks you through it, and do it very carefully, because our addiction to thinking is what we are rising above. And addiction is very easy. Our soul moves with the compulsions and tendencies. How are y'all feeling? It's good? Good day, right? Great
Yeah.
conversation.
Mhm.
I loved it. It was like super, super joyful. Eileen, did you want to wrap it up with expert commentary?
I'm laughing because you said a great day, and I'm just laughing because the full moon was definitely having an effect on my children today, and so it's been chaos here.
You're
My
ready.
attention's been drawn elsewhere because I have 3 people that have literally been melting down around my computer during this whole entire thing. And you're
So
like, "Things are pretty good
you
today."
need some of those psychedelics, right? You're ready for some of those psychedelics.
I need something. Oh my gosh.
Can I offer a different perspective, or a little deeper perspective there, Eileen?
Yes,
If you have
absolutely.
3 little ones melting down around you, that might be because
2 and a big one.
2 and a big one. Okay,
A 42-year-old.
so like 4, right? Not. Um, one of the things that I notice is that people will sometimes have meltdowns around me when I am anchoring more space for myself.
Mhm. I was telling Poonam last week at group meditation, it's being grateful for all of it, because whether it's feeling good or feeling positive, or it's something that feels like it's bad or that it's negative, it's teaching me something. But this has definitely been interesting, because if I wasn't muted the whole time, you guys would have gotten an earful. And I just like watching it all, like, okay. But yes, I agree.
You did a incredible job of being impassive, because all I saw was you were looking here, there, and everywhere, but it was like there was a wall, right? She was like,
Very solid.
solid.
Yeah, you have a peaceful kind of glow about you. It's kind
I
of,
almost didn't make it through one of them, but I kept my head that way. I was like, okay. But yes, so
So
I'm
perfect.
grateful for all of this. Thank you.
Y'all have been incredibly amazing. Thank you so much to the panel and for everyone out there that has been with us with the questions. Without the questions, there are no responses, there's no panel. So we are absolutely filled with gratitude that everyone shows up week after week. And we will be here next week if everyone is available. And see y'all. Have a fantastic week, and we'll be here for group meditation on Friday, Louise and whoever wants to show up. Okay?
I'll make it.
I'll be there.
Thank you.
You'll make it?
I'll make it. I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
One day.
I'll do my
And
best. Working on it.
I need your course, Kelly.
We'll see you there.
Post,
Thanks, guys.
post about your group meditation, post about your
I will.
Qigong class. Okay,
My course. I
Okay.
will. I will.
Okay.
thank
Thank you.
you.
All right. All right. Thanks, you guys.
Bye, everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
Bye,
you.